Stratford School, Mrs. Caravan here. So today our experiment is sink or float. So let's grab some random things from around the house and make a hypothesis. Is it going to sink or is it going to float? So I have got an orange and a carrot. So what do you think? The orange is actually heavier than my carrot here. So I think maybe the orange will sink and the carrot will float. Let's see what happens. Oh, the orange bounced off the bottom, but then it floated. And here goes my carrot. Carrot sank down to the bottom. So that's not what I thought was going to happen. What's going on here? Why did my orange actually float? So it's something called density. So density is how tightly together those molecules are packed. So the molecules in the orange peel, I'm pretty sure it's just the peel, are spread farther apart than the molecules in the water. So you can see by the number of dots that I drew. And the carrot is more dense. It's got more molecules packed together there. It's a tighter molecule pack than the water. So the carrot sank to the bottom. The carrot was the most dense, and the orange was the least dense. They're farther apart. So the orange floated and the carrot sank. So that's called density. Let's test a few other objects. I've got two different sharks here. I've got this shark, and I've got this stretchy shark. What do you think? This guy's actually a little bit heavier than this one. So I'm going to guess this guy's going to sink, and maybe this guy will float. Let's see if I'm right. Oh, he went straight to the bottom. And this one, he's floating. So I was right on that one. So the orange shark is more dense, and this one is less dense. It floated. Let's see, I also have a golf ball and a ping pong ball. Ping pong ball is really light, golf ball is heavy. I bet you the golf ball is going to sink. Let's see. Yep, golf ball went right to the bottom and the ping pong ball stayed right on the surface, didn't go in at all. So float and sink. So it's not just objects that have density, liquids also have density. So let's see. I've got a cup of water here, and in my water I've got a Lego floating. Notice how it's floating right at the surface of the water. And there's a cork floating, and it's kind of halfway above the water. I'm going to add some vegetable oil, and let's see what happens to these. Alright, so let's see where these objects float when I put in vegetable oil. So the vegetable oil I'm pouring in is floating up to the surface. So now I've got a layer of water, and a Lego, and then a layer of oil, and the cork is still floating on the surface. So the water is the most dense, and then the Lego, and then the oil, and then the cork is the least dense. And I got one more experiment here, and then we're going to head down to the lake. What about chocolate sauce and milk? What do you think is going to be more dense? Which one's going to sink, the chocolate sauce or the milk? Let's see what happens when I put the chocolate sauce in. All the chocolate sauce went right to the bottom of my milk, so the chocolate sauce sank. The chocolate sauce is the more dense. Alright, so it's hot outside. I think maybe we should go down to the lake and do some experiments down there. So I'll see you down there in a few minutes. Okay, Mrs. Caravan here, back at the lake, like I said, for a little bit more sink or float fun. So, what I got here, I've got a piece of charcoal from the fire pit and a rock. What do you think? Sink or float? Let's do the rock first. I made a pretty big splash. Down it goes. How about the charcoal? Made a splash, but it floated right back up to the surface. Alright, then I have two sticks here. One stick is really wet, and the other stick is nice and dry. What do you think's gonna happen? Let's see. Dry stick, floating right on the surface. Wet stick, it's slowly sinking to the bottom, going down slow. And there's another thing I wanted to show you that's very important when you're down at the lake or in a pool. Until you need to know how to swim, you need to have some things to help you float. So right here I've got a life jacket and a little kickboard. So you guys have probably all seen these things before. So what do you think? A life jacket gonna float? Let's see. Definitely floats. And let's see this kickboard too. Is the kickboard gonna float? Let's see how strong this kickboard likes to float. It's hard to put it underwater. See, it's floating. I'm pushing it down. It's hard to push down. Watch when I let it go, how much it wants to come up. Whoa, it flies right out of the water. So let's see now. I'm gonna have my son wear the life jacket. Let's see how well that helps you float. Okay, so now we're gonna see if my son Tim sinks or floats. What do you think? Let's find out. Go ahead, Tim. Well, he floated a little bit. He sunk down, touched the bottom, and bounced back up a little bit. Now let's see what happens when he puts on a life jacket. Okay, so now Tim has his life jacket on. What do you think he's gonna do now, sink or float? Let's find out. Go ahead, Tim. He's floating. He's definitely not sinking now. That's why life jackets are so important. They keep you from sinking to the bottom of the lake or the pool. So whenever you're near the water, if you don't know how to swim, make sure you have on your life jacket. And if you're on a boat, you always need to have on your life jacket.